Hey everyone, it's the Knitty Professor. The gift-giving season is upon us, and so is the season when we have to assess the knitworthiness of the people in our lives. And I thought I might start off with a cautionary tale on the topic of knitting things for other people, which I've had mixed results with. I'm guessing I'm not alone. So the cautionary tale, if you're listening to this, sis, my sister, you'll know what I'm talking about. So this was back in the early days of my knitting, and I was so eager to share my skills. You know, I was like, I've got this great new skill. It's fun. I love working with yarn. Maybe people in my family would appreciate the fruits of my efforts. So I didn't want to do anything too ambitious, you know, like knitting a sweater and not knowing, will it fit? Will they like it? You know, that was too ambitious at the time. So I decided on a dog sweater. And I wasn't rich at the time. I had to scrounge for good wool in any location where I could find it. And one of the great locations was my Goodwill up the street. Haven't found anything good there in over a year. But for a while there, man, I was really hitting the jackpot. And I got some great yarn. I've shared some of it on this channel. So in any case, I found this dog sweater pattern. It gave me a good opportunity to practice, you know, like increases, decreases, joining things together, different stitches, and I used different colors. And turned out pretty good. So, as I recall, it was a Christmas present. Again, this was years ago. And I got great review on the day when she reported about receiving it, and it was really cool and all that stuff. So, didn't really hear much about it until, well, it might have been, I don't know, 3 or 4 years later. And it turned out that her dog had worn the sweater and really enjoyed it to the extent that I think the dog had more or less consumed it. I think within a day. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But that's what happened. And I understand her urge to spare me the gory details of the demise of the dog sweater that I made. And then, of course, she went on to bemoan her lack of knitworthiness. But I happen to know, at least I think I know, okay, I'm pretty sure that the scarf that I made for my sister survives to this day and is, on occasion, enjoyed. So that one was a success. Now I have had successes, and I have some examples that I don't know what the outcome was. So here's one example. And this, again, it was back in the early phase of my enthusiasm for sharing my gift, right? Gift in multiple senses. I made a cowl, an infinity scarf for my stepmother. And again, it was a great opportunity to hone my skills. I used a kind of a lace technique. There were a lot of yarn overs and stuff in it, and it was a great opportunity to attempt this. I've forgotten how you go back at the end and you make it, I don't know if it's like a Kitchener thing, but you make it look like it was totally an infinity scarf, even though you knit this long sort of shawl-like thing. In any case, that one I actually posted in Ravelry. I think it's mother-in-law's infinity scarf or something like that. I forget where I found the pattern. It's been a long time ago. I haven't seen it in all those years. Don't know if it's still there. She did downsize recently. I haven't heard anything. So I'm going to assume that she not only loved it, but has been wearing it faithfully every winter. Then I have examples of doing hats, and I've had enough experience with making hats to where I can be fairly sure they're going to fit most of the heads in my family. Not all of them. The issue I run into with hats is if someone wears their hair in different ways. You know, like my mom, she would do different things with the hair and hairspray and stuff. I'm like, how are you going to put a beanie on that? You know, I probably, even though, I mean, people who do different things with their hair, wear beanies, right? And I've seen them smush them down and then remove them, but it's like this fear, right? I think I'm a little bit squeamish about it's like I don't want to make something for somebody and then have this queasy feeling in the back of my mind that, oh, they didn't like it, all that time and it was a bust, right? So maybe I'm just inexperienced, or I don't know. But here's an example of a project that I made. So this is a picture from the back of the book, from this Colorwork Creations book. I made a chuyu for my younger son, and he is very pleased with it, loves wearing it, and I love seeing him in it because, as you can tell, this is fingering weight yarn, lots of color work, very elaborate. I even had to alter the pattern because I couldn't figure out how to make the flaps on the chuyu in garter stitch without having them curl up or stockinette, whatever it was. I was like, I'm going to use a sock toe, so I just changed the stitch size and made it kind of a double layered ear flap and turned out beautifully. And he reports that he really loves the hat and wears it a lot. I also made for the same son, I have two. The other one I've never knit anything for because I just know. No, it's got to be Under Armour or bust. That's fine, right? I prefer to know. The last thing you want is someone who's like, oh, yeah, I'd love for you to knit something for me. You spend all those hours, you never see it again because they were just lying through their teeth. So the clarity, that's really useful. So in any case, my younger son, I knit a hat for him very much like this. It's just a straightforward beanie. It was probably a Nulach from Sewn type 0815 hat. With mohair, and I made it in this really cool green and black hand-dyed yarn that we affectionately called Toxic Sludge. So when he puts on his Toxic Sludge beanie, it's definitely a nice moment, a memory, and I think he enjoys wearing that hat. I made a similar hat also for my daughter's boyfriend, and to my knowledge, he also wore that religiously. I have made hats for my daughter, and I'm trying to remember now. She's probably equally enthusiastic about the things that I make for her. So I think part of the the conundrum of this whole knitworthy question is figuring out who's knitworthy and who isn't. And it's kind of it's not really the best word, I mean, of course they're all worthy, but the question is, will the level of appreciation rise to the level of effort that went into, making something that's handmade? That's why, to be perfectly honest, most of the things I make for me because I know I'm going to wear them. I'm going to love them. That's the reason I made them, is because I chose the colors, I chose the pattern, I chose the weight, I chose everything about that garment, and I'm going to wear the crap out of it. So then we get into the challenge of what your knitworthy relation, friend is like really after. Like, you give them a say, right? And so, for example, my son is like, well, I would love a cabled sweater. And I'm like, that's great, but I've never made one. And do I want my first cabled sweater? Do I want to take a risk on something like that? It might not fit, or he might be disappointed. It's kind of like making a wedding dress for someone. It's like the expectations, and then there's so much room for letting him down, and it's my son, and blah blah blah. So I'm gonna do it, and he might be listening, right? He listens to my videos, especially the boot videos. In any case, I think my tack that I need to take there is first to knit the cable sweater for myself so that I can wear the mistakes, learn from it, and then make one for him. Because to be honest, we're kind of close in size. I think the biggest difference is that he's taller. So maybe a little slimmer. I don't know. He's been bulking up. He's been working out. So I think, and I welcome suggestions, right? Maybe I should just knit it with him like right there and just have him, wait till we have an opportunity for him to try on every step of the way. which is kind of hard because we live 1,000 miles apart. But yeah, and I can always use a garment that he has that I know he likes as a foil for like the size. But I'm really worried about, even with color work, the positive versus negative ease question. Just having 2 strands affects the stretchiness of the fabric and can affect how the size turns out versus, one color at a time. And then when you add in cables, I feel like I would need to really practice before I knit a sweater for him with cables. So it's going to happen, but I'm not there yet. It's like, do I want to play some really freakishly hard concerto by Strauss when I'm still at the Mozart level? No, probably not. I might make some mistakes. That would give me performance anxiety, and that's the last thing I want when I'm knitting. So here's another conundrum, and I've heard this is not something I've experienced yet because I'm not yet a grandparent, but I'm hoping one of these days. I'm not even an aunt, but some of you are, and you can probably tell even better stories than what I've heard. But I have heard stories of people, they're like, their nephew comes into the world and they're like, great, I'm going to make a baby sweater, and give themselves 6 months. And the outcome is that 2 years later, they've finished a baby sweater that would fit a 6-month-old. And it's like, well, too bad, right? And it can be a challenge to change those sizes on the fly. Like if something happens and you can't get it done in 6 months, and then, you've got to make it bigger or something. I mean, yeah, you'd almost have to really systematically know that you're going to finish it at the given time, or else just start when they're a baby and knit something that's going to fit a 3-year-old. But then you also have to contend with, well, it's only going to fit them a year, so is it worth it? And if I do that, which I probably will, I would probably knit something that's simple. I'm not going to knit like a gorgeous, incredibly complicated colorwork sweater for a 3-year-old that they're going to outgrow when they're 4. But I could make one for their hope chest and give it to them when they're 5 and say, you can put this on when you're 16, and then hope for the best. So anyhow, that, knitting for kids is also an issue. I've heard of people who will knit something and then the child will wear it for a while and then they'll unravel it and they'll incorporate that yarn into the next sweater and recycle it that way. And again, man, I would be really interested in having your stories in the comments about this type of thing. And just generally your thoughts about knitworthiness. So we're coming on Christmas here, and a lot of us want to knit things for the people in our family. And we don't always know if what we knit for them or craft for them is going to work out, or if it's, going to get the kind of, dare I say, attention after everything is said and done that sort of justifies what we put into it. A case in point, this kind of thread cross stitch here I made for my brother, and it was in a plastic bucket for, I don't know, probably 30 years. And I didn't frame it, which I probably should have, right? So if I'm gifting him this kind of thread cross stitch, I probably should have given it to him in a form that didn't require like further finishing. That was my mistake. But fact is that, it was stored carefully, which is nice. And upon his death, it came back to me. So now, even though it's like not the best frame in the world, it's framed and I can look at it every day. So it's finally getting some attention. People see it in my videos now. It's based on some St. Francis of Assisi cross-stitch patterns, and it's really lovely. I just adore it. So I do have another request from my younger son, who is very knitworthy, for a scarf, and I'm pretty excited. I found some yarn in a pattern when I was down in Sioux Falls. So I'm confident that that will work out well. I'm very confident because I think I sort of know, A, that he appreciates what I make for him, and B, what his tastes are. So between those two things, a scarf, that's not too risky, right? I'm not ready to knit him that cabled sweater. I want to, I'm not ready. And then there are things that I want to make, and I don't have time. I don't have time. I have to be honest. I think sometimes we can set ourselves up for failure if we promise, even, passively, like I've just got to knit that for whoever, my mother-in-law, I don't know, whatever. And it's December 24th and you're only halfway done, and then you're stressed out, and, so sometimes we want to be careful what we promise because we don't want to disappoint the recipient, but we also don't want to disappoint ourselves that we felt like we let somebody down. So that's another dimension of the challenges of knitting something as a gift or crafting something as a gift for others. So I thought this would be kind of a nice topic to address at this particular moment, especially if you are given to sharing experiences that you might have had in this area as far as knitting something or crocheting or sewing for someone else. My brother certainly sewed things for me when I was younger. And, I have to confess, I didn't wear them very often. And I still have them and I still love them. So there's that, right? I still appreciate having that item that he made with his hands. But as far as actually using it every day, I wasn't, so worthy to the extent that maybe someone else might be, right? But I would love to hear your stories, your thoughts on this whole question. Like, do you even risk knitting things for family members at all? There's also the whole area of knitting for charity, which is arguably a little easier from the standpoint that you're sort of, number one, it might be based on a set pattern, like hats for preemies or, knitted knockers or something. But, example, if I made hats and I just gave them to Goodwill, basically they could wait for the right person, versus, oh, I'm definitely going to make this for this person. I'm going to expect them to love it. And what if they don't? Then, you're cooked. So knitting for charity, it'd be also nice to have your stories on the reward of doing that. I kind of see that as having a different set of dimensions that would go along with it, versus knitting for someone where, there, I don't know, could be tension or expectations or, fear of letting somebody down, etc. So anyhow, I wish you all good luck and happiness with the knits that you're making for others. I dare say that babies are probably pretty easy to please. And a lot of people have good luck knitting for little ones. I look forward to the day when I have that opportunity. So thank you for listening. And we're getting close to the holidays here. I hope that the season is going well for you, and that whatever you decide surrounding your knitting, that it supports your relationships in the best possible kind of way, even if it comes to, I'm not going to knit you squat because I know it's just going to cause tension. So on that note, have a great week, and we'll talk soon. Bye.